September 12 is a date that has been etched in the memory of many Jamaicans. It is a day that Jamaicans experienced the worst health disaster in its history. It wreaked havoc in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico before landing in Jamaica, and the destruction it left made it the worst storm in the nation's history.
This is your weather report, and thank you for joining us. As we take a look at the Caribbean satellite photograph, we see our latest tropical storm, Gilbert.
From 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on September 12, Hurricane Gilbert drenched Jamaica. According to Hurricanes Science and Society, coastal storm surge flooding produced tides of up to 2.7 meters. That's 8.9 feet above normal on the northeast coast of Jamaica, causing inland flash flooding from September 10 to September 14. The hurricane was so large that significant amounts of rain fell as far away as Venezuela and Costa Rica as Gilbert made landfall across Jamaica. In Jamaica, 40% of total damages were to agriculture. 95% of all hospitals suffered damage, with only 2 of 25 escaping with minimal damage.
2 hospitals in particular were badly devastated. The Princess Margaret in the east and Lucy Hospital in the west were badly damaged. Their bed counts were more than halved after the hurricane. And some of the big facilities were quite seriously damaged as well. The Kingston Public Hospital, Cornwall Regional Hospital, and the University Hospital were seriously affected, both in terms of their bed count and in terms of other services like the routine outpatient services and specialist consultation services.
Health facilities didn't really have a mass casualty situation. It was the public health aspects that we had to monitor very closely because there was no electricity supply, water supply, and the environmental health situation in general needed close monitoring.
All over the island, 50% of the domestic water supply, storage, and distribution facilities were destroyed.
Help does not come for a day or so, even from within the country, because the roads are blocked, they have to be cleared, transportation has to be gathered, and so on. And so people really have, for the first few hours, to depend on their own.
The island got help from international aid agencies, but even that brought issues.
Many agencies sent us volunteers before we were ready to receive them. And it meant that a major call was placed on our limited housing resources and limited food supplies, and the worst hit communities were where all the volunteers wanted to go. And when we tried to explain that our strategy was to keep our major institutions functioning so that we would be putting volunteers to some extent, not necessarily in the worst hit areas, but in areas in which they could relieve the pressure on the regular staff, people became a little upset because they wanted to be where the action was.
Since that disaster, Jamaica has developed emergency funding, established the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, and enacted a Disaster Risk Management Act. UK Aid and the Pan American Health Organization partnered to retrofit 9 health centers island-wide, making them safer and more resilient to natural disasters and climate change. Building codes were changed to ensure that homes were not easily destroyed during hurricanes. But no one could have predicted the latest destruction left by Hurricane Beryl on July 3, 2024. Thousands of Jamaicans in the southern parishes were left without water and electricity for days. Houses, schools, churches, and farms were completely destroyed. The country has mostly bounced back, but with forecasters warning of more disasters due to climate change, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced a move to mitigate future disasters.
So in response to these challenges of high frequency, high intensity, and overlapping crises, the government established the Disaster Risk Management Review Committee. This committee is tasked with strengthening Jamaica's preparedness for disasters and ensuring that we are ready to meet future crises head-on. The DRMRC, that is the Disaster Risk Management Review Committee, will focus on critical areas such as infrastructure resilience, essential services like water, electricity, and telecommunications, as well as medical services and community preparedness. These sectors are crucial in maintaining stability in times of crisis, and any failure in these areas can have widespread consequences.
Hurricane Gilbert killed 341 people and left $5.5 billion reportedly in damage. Almost every decision made by Jamaican administrators since then regarding disasters in Jamaica are made with the lessons learned from that day, September 12, 1988.